My approach to curation is, I think, quite eclectic. I would have half an idea in my mind, but maybe nothing kind of concrete. I might think of a title before I think of a concept or even the artists. And from the title, I would probably draw out the idea or the rationale behind the show. And then I would probably choose artists who I think fit the show. I suppose I'd be known for a kind of apocalyptic strain that runs through my exhibitions and my projects. But I like to think there's a little bit of humour as well. And for this show, I wanted to make a show about Northern Ireland that didn't have Northern Ireland artists, that didn't have actually anything to do on the surface with Northern Ireland at all. So I chose work that echoed sort of the various situations that we have here, and you could track back sort of those echoes to here. First work you encounter is in the sunken gallery is the work of Olaf Brzeski, the Dream Spontaneous Combustion piece, and I like the idea of the first thing you see and the last thing you see being an explosion. It's a powerful work, but it's also in its own dark way quite a funny work, and I thought it's an important work for the show, and I'm glad we got it because the essence behind the show was I suppose sort of you're a prisoner of history, or history sort of defines what you do and defines how you think, and if you don't react well to that, or you're trapped, the pressure and the frustration can build up literally to an explosion, so you can have sort of something not terribly healthy for the individual or something violent for the society. So it kind of represented a kind of important strand in the work. Following on from Olaf's work, you go to the Tall Gallery and you see Pieter Hugo's work. Pieter has an interest, I think, in outsiders. He is a white South African and consciously or unconsciously has to carry the baggage that brings along with it. I suppose people have this idea of what it is to be an African, and it's not usually somebody who's white. So he, I suppose, was drawing to the outsiders, to the people that didn't fit in. One of the Pieter's series that we have in the gallery is Permanent Error, which is essentially pictures of how would you describe it? Contemporary electronics, sort of computer dump in Ghana, and he has pictured the people who live around and scavenge around this dump, which seems to be permanently on fire. It is a very apocalyptic work. The locals call it Sodom and Gomorrah for very obvious reasons. There's something biblical about the photos. There is a kind of Old Testament fury about some of them, particularly the one with the young fella. You see his eyes, and you see the stare. It's not a sort of, it's a mixture of hostility and anger. It's definitely not resignation, and it doesn't make comfortable viewing. If you take all the three series in the Tall Gallery, you have the hyena men, who are an enclosed, itinerant wanderers essentially for part of the year. You have the Nollywood, the people dressed up as zombies and monsters, and you have, as I say, Permanent Error of the dispossessed, living on a kind of sort of contemporary electronics dump, and what ties them all together is a kind of an outsiderdom, something that through circumstances or choice they live outside not only the norm but the expectations of people. I suppose being white and South African, it makes people assume that you have power based on the fact that, I suppose, in the past, white people in South Africa held the reins of power, and power is something that I suppose leads us on to Adrian Ghenie's work. Adrian is a Romanian painter, one of the, I suppose, most important of his generation, and his work is all about history. He's very influenced by cliched portrayals of power, and he tries to, I suppose, bring all these cliches together to produce a coherent work. As I say, he's Romanian, and he grew up in the I suppose the latter period of the Ceausescu regime, and the abuse of power that went along with that, and I suppose the ridiculousness as well. One thing about power is, though it's dangerous and it's sinister, it is also, in quite a lot of the cases, ridiculous. And one of, I suppose, the important works of that I was really glad we got was the pie fight. And what is important about the pie fights is they are a sense of how you can undermine, how power can be undermined and undermines itself to a degree by its surreal ridiculousness. Another important work is Stigmata 2, where we have a collage of painting, photography, and we see depicted a cameraman looking at a nuclear explosion, and the cameraman seems to be taken off either Los Alamos or Christmas Island, or one of the classic nuclear explosions. And explosions seem to fascinate Ghenie, and they're an important element in the exhibition. You can only really observe explosions. If you take part in an explosion, you're in trouble, really. You know, explosions are there really only to look at. You can't really be in the middle of one with any safely. So we kind of are observing violence on the canvas. And I always thought if Caravaggio or any of the classic painters would have been around today or during the 20th century, they would have been really attracted to the nuclear and the very violence of our contemporary society. I would hope that people would come into the show, make up their own minds. I like exhibitions that don't preach per se, that don't say you have to think A or B, because it kind of limits the response, I've always thought. So I'd like people to come and find themselves and lose themselves in the show. I always try to make my shows like rock concerts, where you have the lights, the sound, the smoke machines, and you go in and you can lose yourself in the moment of being there, and find yourself also in that moment. And the name of the exhibition is "I Will Go There, Take My Home," which was from a swan song or a World of Skin, a Swan's offshoot, and it was a series of questions, but with no other answer than "take me home." So I like I suppose I would like the audience to come and find their own paths and answers, find their own angles, find their own ways in and ways out, without the curator telling them what to believe.